Hello there, welcome. I feel like it's like 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm wide awake and I just don't know what to do with myself. I know, I feel like for the past year and a half, maybe 2 years, I became very intimate with sleep. Like, I think sleep was like my go-to. That's all I wanted to do was sleep. And now I'm turning a leaf and I am wide awake a lot of the times. I don't need to take a nap and I'm constantly looking to do something, whether it be create or play games. Like I'm basically being pushed into another sphere or dimension of life where I'm actually doing the opposite of what I've been practicing for the past 2 years, which is very odd. At first it felt conflicting, but then I realized that, life has phases and seasons that we move through, and you can't allow yourself to be stuck in one season or one dimension of life because that means you're not growing or moving or evolving. Um, as with all transitions, I feel like sometimes it can be difficult to adjust to, and I most recently started getting anxiety attacks. And I guess I don't want to talk too much, just kind of want to get into what I discovered about anxiety attacks. I don't usually experience anxiety attacks. I think the only time I did was when I was at a meditation retreat, and another time when I consumed a cookie, if you know what I mean. And other than that, I don't necessarily remember having anxiety attacks, but most recently, like for the past week or two, I've been getting a bunch of them. And, usually, I don't know if you guys are familiar with anxiety, but you feel like you can't breathe. Um, it's almost like you become immersed in a state of panic, and you feel like your heart is just racing, like almost feels like it feels like you're gonna die. It feels like you're gonna get a heart attack or something. But yeah, and very constricted breathing. And I don't know if you can relate to this. I feel like you can because we are our minds, or we are programmed similarly, if you know what I mean. Especially if you're at INFJ. But whenever something feels off kilter, I have this incessant need to explore, like, and find a remedy or find some type of understanding so that I can move through it instead of, being stuck in it. So, of course, I started exploring, like, why. And I started, like, grabbing information from different reference points that may not make sense to other people that operate on a different program. Um, First thing, ooh, okay, I started like becoming aware of my inner dialogue. And for some reason, I don't know, it could be a number of reasons, and these are just my personal theories, but we were we just came out of Mercury retrograde. And if you're not familiar with Mercury retrograde, that's when everything kind of goes awry and off kilter, but it's also a great period for you to self-reflect and let a lot of things come to the surface for you to become aware of so that you can shift and change and move into a new space that helps you to become a better version of yourself or the best version of yourself, you know. But yeah, so I was thinking, Mercury retrograde was a part of it, and then, my inner dialogue, I was kind of like paying attention to it, and I noticed I was telling myself a lot of like things that were fear-based. I don't know if I want to go into detail about that, but like part of it was I'm getting older. What am I going to do when I'm old? What am I going to do if I'm alone? What am I going to do? And I was worrying about family members that I hadn't communicated with in a while. And, all these things, work stuff, all this stuff just started kind of bombarding my inner dialogue. And I noticed that, and I think you're aware of this, but what you tell yourself is mental food. So that's why your inner dialogue, it's so important to pay attention to it, and we don't always pay attention to it because we get pulled into worldly things, which isn't bad, but if you're not careful, you have a tendency to kind of put yourself in a position that may not be in your best interest. So anyways, going back to, I was aware that my inner dialogue was fear-based, and so my mind was interpreting that as a threat, and so it was sending signals throughout my body to go into fight or flight mode. I literally observed this, and when I did some research online, I found articles and videos that back this up. But yeah, so your inner dialogue basically is processed in your mind, and your mind then sends out signals throughout your body to react or respond in a particular way. In my case, I was feeling like I was like I said, being threatened, and I needed to go into fight or flight mode. And because these signals were being sent through my body, I was having a hard time breathing, and I noticed that a lot of the constriction was in my chest. So that's why I say it feels like you're having a heart attack, or you can't really take a full breath of air. But I looked up something else that was in relation to this, and I looked up lungs. And the lungs are in correlation to your inability to trust the universe and life's flow. And that totally made sense because, like I said, if you were to look at my inner dialogue, I wasn't trusting the universe and life's flow, and just kind of allowing things to kind of like go. I also noticed like a remedy to help is to first of all change the inner dialogue. And once I realized that I needed to change my inner dialogue from fear to trust, I could feel a whole new, a bunch of weight just fall off of me. And also, I felt lighter. Like, I just felt like something that was heavy on me just kind of release. Once I started changing my inner dialogue to, I trust the universe and life's flow. And I told myself that over and over again, I could feel the weight lift off of me. And then I started working on the physical aspect, which is kind of like chest opening exercises, because when you're feeling congested and blocked in this area, you have to change dialogue, and then you also have to perform certain exercises on a physical level to unblock it and open it and release it. This space also coincides with your heart chakra, you know? So, yeah, so many different connections. But I kind of wanted to share that with you. So if you're going through something similar, then at least you know you're not alone and there is a way to shift things. Another thing besides the anxiety and my inability to sleep, because I just feel like I feel like I need to be more active. And it's not even like a forced feeling. It's more like, okay, well, you've slept enough. Now, do something, move your body. And I have been more active and doing exercises. Granted, it's only like 5 to 10 minute bursts at a time, but it's something versus nothing. And I've also noticed that things haven't been flowing as fluidly as they were before. And at first I was frustrated, but then I realized that that's an essential component of life. Like, everything's not going to flow superfluously all the time. You are going to have days where you're going to like mess up, or things are just constantly going to be going wrong. And I think you are the most successful when you can go through these things without taking it personally, by still being able to retain a certain amount of peace and ease and grace. And I'm not perfect, so, I'm still working on it, but I'm aware that, life isn't always going to turn out the way you want it to. And I think that's a no-brainer, even though it's hard for us to really accept and apply. Life just is. I was going to say something in regards to that, and I totally lost my train of thought. I haven't really been active on my channel because, I don't know, for a number of reasons. One, I lost interest. Two, I was being harassed by, who knows, users who were leaving lewd commentary on my videos, and I just didn't want to deal with that. I didn't think it was worth my time. I didn't think it was worth my attention, and so I just kind of like took a break from making videos. I feel like I made a video on this. Hurt people hurt people. I think they don't know any other way, and so they feel the need to harass people in their free time. I don't know who that benefits. It doesn't benefit anyone, and I just don't understand why someone would want. Well, actually, I do understand. They're probably bored. They don't know what else to do, and they're unhappy, so they have to try and make other people unhappy by their lewd and rude remarks and commentary. I just don't have time for that. I remember there was somebody who left a comment saying that I was self-absorbed. And I kind of thought about it. I was like, am I self-absorbed? I think we all, to some degree, are self-absorbed because we're trying to experience our life, and we're trying to, move through it based on our preferences. And, I think in order to know your preferences, you need to self-analyze. So is that self-absorbed? Yeah, it kind of is. I mean, know thyself. Knowing thyself is a little self-absorbed because you're not necessarily promoting knowing others. I'm not saying I don't try to get to know other people, but I do spend a large amount of my time in self-analyzation so that I can understand my mechanism and how I work and how I, how do I say, how I interact with my external environment and the people I encounter. You know, I don't think that's it. You know, it just depends on your point of view. I mean, I feel like you can be self-absorbed in a very narcissistic and unhealthy way, or you can be self-absorbed in a healthy way where you're actually doing the inner work in order to play your role and do your part in the larger schematic of things. I don't know. Hey, so this is going on long, and I have rambled on quite a bit. I really hope you're having a great night. Thank you for watching, and have a beautiful day. Amen.